Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Run in the Paint recap. Today is Wednesday, December 18th, and guys, the 2024 Emirates NBA Cup champion has been crowned as the Milwaukee Bucks won the whole thing. They won the cup last night by defeating the Oklahoma City Thunder 97 to 81. Yes, that was the final score, 97 to 81, and a low-scoring, defensive-minded game between these two teams, but going in favor of the Milwaukee Bucks. And man, oh man, this was a matchup I was very excited for, one that I was hoping that we would get once we got to the Final Four here. Just because these are two of the hottest teams in the NBA. Of course, Oklahoma City, the best team in the Western Conference, has been playing great all season long. And then you've got the Milwaukee Bucks, who, after a very, very rough start, have played very good basketball over the last couple of weeks and coming in here as probably the hottest team in the Eastern Conference. I don't know if that's too crazy to say, but they have certainly been playing great basketball on both sides of the floor coming into this matchup. And of course, you've got two of the three best players in the league so far with Giannis Antetokounmpo and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander going at it in this matchup. And in the first half, it was a lot of fun. It was back and forth. The score at halftime, I believe, was 51 to 50 Milwaukee. And it was kind of two contrasting styles of play. Milwaukee was kind of just riding or dying with Giannis and Damian Lillard making plays for either themselves or for their teammates in the first 60 points of the game. I think that Giannis and Lillard assisted or scored on 52 of the points, or 52 of 59. I think they showed that during the broadcast. And then for Oklahoma City, they really could only get shots to go in from the paint and when they got to the free throw line, because the 3-point shot completely deserted them in this game. And in that first half, they were, I believe, 1 for 17 from distance in the first half of action. But despite that, because, like I said, they were getting paint points and getting to the free throw line, they were able to offset the Bucks knocking down a bunch of threes in the first half, and we're only trailing by 1 point after 24 minutes. And I was really looking forward to the second half of play after we got the back and forth action in the first half. And I really thought that going into the second half, whichever team went on a run to start the third quarter would have a great chance of pulling away in this game, especially when you're in a neutral site like Las Vegas for these final few games here in the NBA Cup. With it being close at halftime, and I think the largest lead for either team was like 6 or 7 in that first half. Like, it was very, very close. Whichever team was going to go on a run or take that first, 8 to 10 point lead in the game, it's probably going to have a good shot of winning the whole thing, because in that kind of neutral site, hard to see, any major comebacks kind of take place. And Milwaukee was the team that came out in the third quarter on fire. Damian Lillard hit a couple big 3-pointers to start out the third quarter. And Oklahoma City continued to struggle from 3-point range. In the whole game, they shoot 5 for 32 from 3. They shoot just 34% from the field overall. And it was just an offensive struggle for the Thunder. And they hang their hat on the defensive side. But offensively, it just was a big struggle for the Thunder. And then conversely for Milwaukee, they really were getting great looks. They were getting great looks, whether it was Lillard from deep. Role players that in the second half started to make some shots. Gary Trent Jr. was big time in the second half off the bench. AJ Green in the first half. Brook Lopez hit a couple threes in the second half. But in this game, it really came down to Giannis Antetokounmpo just completely taking over the game on both ends of the floor. He was absolutely spectacular, taking it to the basket, getting to the free throw line, dishing it out to teammates, finishes the game with a triple-double with 29 points, 18 rebounds, I believe, and 10 assists. He had 13 rebounds. Okay, this stat line was just in the second half for Giannis. In the second half of action, Giannis had 12 points, 13 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 steals, and 3 blocks, all in the second half of action to just lead the way for the Milwaukee Bucks. And man, oh man, it was incredible. This is kind of the epitome of what we've been seeing from Giannis over the last few weeks, because he's really been leading the charge for the Milwaukee Bucks with their recent surge up in the Eastern Conference, and he just completely led the way. He took over. Incredible block shots there in the fourth quarter. Milwaukee's did a great job of forcing turnovers as a team, and that started with the defense of Giannis and Brook Lopez even down low. Andre Jackson was good defensively in this game, and it just led to Milwaukee Buck baskets in transition, a lot of them from three-point range. And Oklahoma City really just couldn't get anything to go offensively. Yeah, like in the second half, the Thunder only scored 31 points, 26% from the field, 27 from three, and 7 of their 10 turnovers came in the second half, and no one really could get it going. In the first half, Isaiah Hartenstein did a good job. Had 8 to 10 points in the first quarter, had 4 floaters, his patented floating shot from the foul line. And he was great in the first half. Really, no one else could get it going. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, a lot of his shots were short. The Bucks did a great job of forcing him into tough shots, and we know Shai to be able to knock those shots down, but was really unable to get into any sort of flow. Same thing with Jalen Williams. They were just forcing Oklahoma City into taking some tough shots. Isaiah Joe took a face-up jab step 3 from a couple feet beyond the arc. Kenrich Williams struggled. They were forcing players to take shots that OKC, OKC, obviously they're one of the deeper teams in the league, the deepest team in the league, in my opinion, but their guys just weren't knocking shots down. And sometimes that is going to happen. But Milwaukee was just having their way. And the difference of this game really did come down to the three-point shot. I mean, Oklahoma City did a great job of attacking the paint, getting buckets in the paint side, especially the first half, getting to the free throw line. But in the second half, it was the three-point shot that really was the difference. And you even look at the 2-point shots. Milwaukee didn't shoot a great percentage on 2-point shots. Like looking at the second half of play, Oklahoma City was 7 for 27 on twos, which is horrible. Milwaukee was 5 for 16 on twos, which isn't that good either. So neither team really could score on each other inside. It was the three-point shot. As in the second half, Milwaukee was 10 for 22, getting 3 threes from Damian Lillard and Gary Trent Jr., and the Thunder 4 for 15 from 3 in the second half of action as well. So obviously a tough loss for OKC, a game where just none of your shots were able to fall. I mean, literally none of them wanted to go in. And they were wide open looks too. Lou Dort got open looks. Shai and J-Dub got good looks on pullback threes. And then, just their other guys just couldn't knock them down. And it was unfortunate to see because this was a great matchup. But Giannis just completely took over. But it just came down to Oklahoma City missing their spot of threes. And Giannis taking home the MVP in this game with the 29 points, 8 rebounds, and 10 assists. I already mentioned his incredible performance. I'm very interested to see now going forward this season. As I mentioned at the top, Shai and Giannis are 2 of the 3 best players in the NBA this season so far. They're 2 of the 3 best, 2 of the 3 frontrunners right now for the MVP award so far. And if you didn't catch the podcast episode, the full Run in the Paint podcast episode on Tuesday, kind of broke down with the guys the MVP race so far this season. And co-host Nick, Coach Cove, was kind of talking about how, whichever guy kind of plays better or shows out here in this particular matchup between the Bucks and Thunder could potentially, take the lead in the MVP race against the other player, if that makes any sort of sense. So I'm interested to see if going forward, because Giannis had this type of game on this stage against a team like Oklahoma City, who's been so good, if that will start to, kind of bring up Giannis and MVP talks a little bit more, because I haven't really heard it talked about a whole lot this season, even though he's leading the league in scoring. He's been absolutely fantastic. But, if a performance like this and leading the Bucks to the NBA Cup championship winners, if that will certainly help his case in the MVP award, or if it doesn't mean anything at all, because that's the thing. Like, the Thunder shoot brutal in this game. Shai breaks his 15-game streak of 25 points or more, but it actually doesn't really count for anything. This is the only game that doesn't count towards regular season action. So all that stuff still up for grabs for Shai. Yeah, he can continue that streak in their next game, but I'm certainly interested to see how this game could impact the Bucks going forward, or if it has any impact, because we saw last season with the Lakers winning the NBA Cup, how right afterwards, and kind of a similar thing with the Indiana Pacers, who made the championship game last season, both teams kind of tailed off a little bit. Interested to see if that's the case for these two teams. I personally don't think that will happen, considering, OKC. I mean, the Pacers and Lakers last season, for being real, those are two teams that, like, even at the end of the season, they ended up being a play-in team, or the Pacers were a 6 seed right outside of the play-in. And those are two teams that weren't expected, really, at least on my end, to do much more than be 6, 7 seeds, at least in the regular season. Obviously, the Pacers, some injury luck goes their way. They go to the Eastern Conference Finals. But in this sort of scenario with the Bucks and the Thunder, you've got OKC, who's the best team in the Western Conference and definitely looking to keep soaring and stay as the number one seed in the West after this great start to the season, and a Milwaukee Bucks team who, after a really rough start, has been playing great basketball as of late, 11-2, I believe, in their last 13 games. They're now all the way up to fifth in the East and potential to jump up even more with this stretch. I'm very interested to see if, the Bucks and the Thunder, if this impacts them at all, the fact that they had to play in these games, if that could hurt them negatively like it did for the Pacers and Lakers last year, or if it has no impact. I'm interested to hear what you guys in the comments have to say about that. If you think that this could potentially negatively impact the Bucks or the Thunder like it did the Pacers and Lakers last season. Also because, a lot of these teams that didn't go to the NBA Cup haven't really played a whole lot of basketball, over the last week. The schedule's been kind of weird because of the NBA Cup over the last week or so. But like me, I'm a Cavs fan. I think Cleveland has played in like 2 games in the last like week and a half because of the Cup. It's been a complete contrast. This has kind of been a little mini break that all these teams have kind of gotten in the middle of the season, besides the teams that did go to Las Vegas. So certainly interested to see how it impacts those other teams going forward. Before we get out of here, I'm actually kind of interested to go in depth about the NBA Cup a little bit, because we're not going to really talk about the NBA Cup again until about this time next season. About if the NBA Cup this season was a success, or if it was more of a success than last year, and how the NBA could improve this. Because in my opinion, the NBA Cup has been great. It has been a great addition to the NBA. It has made these November, December regular season games matter, and there's been more on the line in these games, and it's been fantastic for the league, fantastic for the game, for all these teams, and for even young teams. Despite, like, what you go with Houston and OKC, a couple of young teams, but specifically a team like Houston getting into this, and even Atlanta, a couple teams that are not expected to do crazy things when we get into playoff time, but have been off to good starts so far this season. Those young teams getting this experience in Vegas could certainly help them going forward. I mean, I think the NBA Cup, for that alone, for allowing young teams to just get experience in high pressure situations, is certainly helpful. That's certainly going to be huge for them going forward. But the NBA Cup was just so much fun to really catch. The storylines were always great. The groups were a lot of fun. It set up for some great matchups, like Klay Thompson's return to Golden State also being an NBA Cup game was very, very fun. There were a lot of close games as well that we got, not necessarily in Vegas, but throughout the rest of the cup. But interested to hear from you guys how the NBA Cup could improve, or how the NBA could improve this, because I think that there are some ways that the NBA could improve this a little bit, or if they should just keep it the same. First, do you guys think that the NBA should keep these Final Four games in a neutral site like Las Vegas? Because look, it's cool that the games are in Vegas. The spotlight is cool. You get some celebrities coming in. You have a neutral site, and Las Vegas, a big market that doesn't have an NBA team in there. Those fans can get to come to the games. But the con on that is that you really don't get any crazy reactions from the crowd, even on some big plays like the crazy Giannis block in the Atlanta game on Clint Capella. Really got no crazy reactions from the crowd, which would obviously not be the case at all. If that game was in Milwaukee, for example. I'm just not sure if I'm a huge fan of the NBA having those games in Vegas because of the lack of that home court feel and not really having fans get into the game that much. Interested to hear what you guys think of that. If the NBA should just have those games be at the team's home court, if that should, even make that big of a difference. And then the second thing would be, if the winner of this cup, obviously the winner of the cup, each player gets $514,000 or something like that, which is great. It's obviously great for those young players at the end of the bench, that aren't making those higher salaries like the max players or even the $10 million salary players. That's obviously great. But for the team going forward in the season, this really doesn't make a difference for anything. So do you guys think that the NBA should do something to where the winner of the cup maybe gets a lock into a top 6 seed, gets home court throughout the playoffs, the winning conference gets home court advantage in the NBA finals, anything like that, anything to make it so that the NBA cup winner actually gets something that will help them later on in the season? Let me know what you guys think about that, because that could certainly make for some interesting storylines going forward in the season. It just seems kind of weird that the Bucks kind of win this whole cup and it's made out to be this whole sort of big thing, but all they get is money, and it really doesn't matter going forward in the season. So let me know what you guys think about that as well. But the NBA Cup, certainly a big success. Cannot wait for it next season. And I'm interested to see, as years go by with this NBA Cup, how much it will matter for players' resumes, if at all. If it matters that Giannis is now a NBA Cup MVP, or that Taurean Prince is a 2-time NBA Cup winner after being on the Lakers last year, or that Darvin Ham is now undefeated through 2 years of the NBA Cup. I guess teams will want to try to get Darvin Ham and Taurean Prince on there to try to go for a three-peat of the NBA Cup. But let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Before we get out of here, usually we do MVP of the night, but I mean, it's Giannis. He was literally given the award, so we don't have to get in depth on that. Giannis, the incredible performance against Oklahoma City. But as we always do here on the recaps, we'll look ahead to the upcoming schedule. No games here tonight, nobody playing, but regular season play will continue on Thursday with a lot of games going on. First, the League Pass schedule, a lot of matchups going on. Golden State, Memphis, probably the most intriguing one on there, as is the Lakers and the Sacramento Kings. Trae Young in San Antonio to take on the Spurs is certainly fun. Trae Young is always linked to the Spurs in different sorts of trade rumors during the offseason, so it'll be interesting to see what type of reception he gets in San Antonio, if any at all. But Warriors-Grizzlies, definitely the League Pass game to watch there. That should be Dennis Schroeder's debut with the Golden State Warriors. So definitely on the lookout for that one. And then the national games, first at 7 o'clock, the Oklahoma City Thunder will go from Vegas to Orlando to take on the Orlando Magic. The Magic now 4th in the Eastern Conference after the injuries, taking on the Thunder off this championship loss in the NBA Cup. That at 7 o'clock on TNT. And then the big headline game at 9:30, it is Karl Anthony Towns making his return to Minnesota for the first time as a visitor, as the New York Knicks take on the Minnesota Timberwolves. That one at 9:30 on TNT. Cannot wait for that matchup as well. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Again, leave comments with all your thoughts on the NBA Cup and the Bucks Thunder game last night. If you enjoyed, leave a like, subscribe for more NBA content. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll catch you in the next one.